And hello, everybody. Welcome to Narrative TV on a Wednesday night. As I throw all caution into the wind, I'm completely silly to be trying to do this, but we're going to do this. We're going to have an open line, video calls from anyone who wants to call in. Give me a shout. The link is below here, I think, on this particular feed that you're watching right now. If you go to the replies, you'll find a link. Take that link, put it in your Google Chrome browser, and call me. Let me know what's on your mind today. Literally, there are no rules to tonight's show. Anything is fair game. You can ask me questions about anything. You can give me comments about anything. I'm happy to hear from you regardless. And we'll go for about an hour. I've got a few calls already waiting for us. And, throughout the show, when it might get a little quiet, I'll talk a little bit about the news of the day. The thing that struck me today that was the most unbelievable thing was watching Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and many, many other GOP senators grilling the Attorney General, literally tearing into him for following the rule of law, for attempting to, God forbid, protect schools and protect parents at schools and school parents and school boards. It's the most unbelievable thing. I've got some video of that later on deck, and we'll play that later on as we go throughout the show. But because we're all about you tonight, all about you, only you, here's our first caller, Susan. Let's hope this works. Are you there, Susan?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that. We can see our viewers. I've always wanted to do this on TV. How are you?
I'm awesome. Wow, this is exciting. I just got off another Zoom call.
Yeah.
I thought I'll just see what you're doing tonight.
That's great. And you're in Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
Fellow Canadian, part Canadian.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I'm part Canadian. So what's on your mind tonight? What's going on in Ottawa?
Well, fall.
Yeah, it is fall. It got cold quickly this year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This is what Canadians do, by the way. They meet each other, they start talking about the weather. What else can you talk about?
So, no, I want to thank you for your show. I'm usually one of the smart Alex who's like in the comments and just being really goofy.
Mm-hmm.
But I
love
thank
your
you
comments.
for your show and for your guests, because we all learn so much and it gives us a sense of community or connection. And I always feel weird as a Canadian getting into so much of this American politics stuff, because why should I care, really? But we do, because whatever the United States does, am I buffering here?
No, I see you.
Really affects us in Canada as well.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, you're not supposed to get meddling into another country's foreign elections.
I didn't get that memo.
Exactly. Right. Well, we're not supposed to meddle. So we're like, goody goodies, right?
Well, I mean, Canadians don't like to do those kinds of things, do they? They like to be polite.
Yeah. And I get, I follow people on Twitter and they ask me for donations and I'm like, oh, I can't donate because I'm Canadian. So I guess I'm curious, from your point of view, what can Canadians do in terms of, I don't know,
acting? I mean, look, I think this is
meddling.
Yeah. This is not an American issue. As much as it's happening in the United States, this is a global confrontation between authoritarianism and democracy. It's happening in multiple countries, and it's certainly, it seems to be succeeding in quite a few countries. So, we look at Brexit, you look at what's going on in Brazil, there's a lot going on, and it's going to affect everyone's rights around the world. Certainly if you lose a free and democratic America, everyone loses the free and democratic America. We all lose freedom because without the United States there to argue for freedom, to fight for freedom, we won't have it. The reason why we've advanced so much in society over the last, let's say 100 years is because we've had liberal democratic politics to do that. And if we didn't have it, we'll never, the whole world gets sort of screwed into this authoritarianism downspin. And it's very hard for any of us to get out of it, especially for the weaker countries. You see it already right now. There are human rights abuses everywhere in the world. And, smaller countries like Canada and Australia might try to do something, but without the heft of the United States, like we saw in the Trump years when we didn't have the United States as a partner, it really felt isolating for Canada and for these other countries, and they weren't able to do as much in terms of impacting change, say on the Uyghurs in China or other places. So, I think this is a global thing. I don't think you know, it's nice to be polite. I love Canadians. I love them. They're great, sweet, nice people. But sometimes it's also good to take a stand. And America's a country that's so important to Canada. There's no ways we would have the kind of country that Canada is right now would not exist without America, obviously. And we need to support our brothers and sisters down there. I'm one of them because I have a green card as well. So I sort of straddle both of these. But I really feel very strongly about the fact that America is very isolated right now. The people in America are very isolated. They need the world to be there for them. You know, they need the people of the world to be there for them because the governments of the world are not going to be there. So the people need to realize that all this democracy is going to impact everybody if it goes away. And we need to stand up for our American brothers and sisters. I don't know if that's answered your question, but that's I didn't really say what you could do, but why you should do it.
Well, there. I work in the States, and there is a lot in terms of the work that I do. But mainly it's just a feeling of helplessness right now. We just want to bring peace, order, and good governance to the United States.
It is kind of helpless, but you know, the more you discuss these things, the more you amplify these things on Twitter, the more you convince your friends, you know, that the world needs to be different, the more the message gets sent around the world. And the only thing you can do is just is keep spreading the message. I do think at the end of the day, you know, the will of the people is going to overpower this, but it's a long way off from that. But Susan, thank you so much for being our first caller. I'm really, really happy you called in, and thanks for being a supporter of the show and checking in on the chats with us, because I love those chats, by the way. They're awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I would have bet David Benjamin would have been the first caller in tonight, and here he is. Hey, David. Hello, David. You can't hear me. I can see you, but no. Sorry, David. You're there. I can see you. I know you can see me. Can you see me? You can't see me. All right. This is what happens when you're playing roulette on TV. How do I do this? How do I get everyone out of here? Let me see. I guess. Yes, you do have to exit, Susan, because I can't get another caller in without you exiting. Hey, David, can you hear me yet? No, he can't hear me yet. All right, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to play. Let me see if I can do it this way. Anita, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I can see you. Where are you?
I'm in Leesburg, Virginia.
Oh, hi, Leesburg, Virginia. That's a nice. You guys are facing an election next week. You're excited?
Oh yeah, I voted yesterday.
And I assume you vote. I don't know who you voted for, but I'm glad you voted. What's the mood down there like? Do you think people are anticipating? What's your guess of what's going to happen?
I think McAuliffe's going to win for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do, but I definitely feel like people aren't as motivated as they were when during the Trump election. So.
Right.
So what I wanted to ask you was, did you talk to Jamie Harrison? Because I was watching you last night, and that hilarious guy who was awesome.
Robert Ojeda, he's fantastic, isn't he? Retired major and a real activist. I hadn't put in the call. I looked it up today. I got his number, and then I got so sidetracked by all these other things that I never got a chance to put up that call. But I will call him. I promise you that, because I am really surprised by what was said there, because it doesn't sound like the smartest of strategies. If they're going to try again, get rid of Mitch. Mitch is not going anywhere. By all accounts, he has that place pretty locked up. So spending $250 million, as Richard Ojeda was saying yesterday, just doesn't make sense when there's so many swing votes. I mean, it just seems like there's so many territories and so many districts in America that could be swung just by you looking at the marginal numbers there. That it certainly seems to me that makes a lot of sense to spend some money on finding these new candidates, these new sort of younger upstart candidates that can be there for a while and also challenge some of these more marginal suburban areas.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
Your podcast to people, the whole thing. There's so
many
great ways to see you. So
it's so great that you're supporting us, and thanks for being there. And we're going to do this more often, because I really do feel like, and it's one of the reasons I booked Richard yesterday, is we don't get a sense necessarily when you're on the coast of what it's like in the more swingy states, and certainly not in the red states. So when we do this again, please call in and make sure that you you let us know what's going on in your areas as well when we're not on the air. Just, shoot me a note and say, hey, this is an interesting story, or the mood is changing, or what have you.
Actually, you know what? That's funny you should say that, because my brother called me yesterday, and he works at a hospital in Oregon, but close to the Boise border. And he was telling me the stuff that's going on in that hospital.
Oh, yeah?
So,
like what kind of stuff?
Yeah. Oh, just like, it's run by a bunch of religious people. So, people aren't getting vaccinated. A lot of the staff isn't vaccinated, and you can't tell people, like if somebody goes in the hospital and says, I just want to be treated by vaccinated people, you don't have that right. So, and then, like one of the surgeons on his wall, he has a painting, and it's, like Jesus holding the scalpel over the guy's shoulder, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
you want to go to a hospital bed with that. Yeah.
Right. If I make a mistake, is that Jesus's fault? Interesting.
It's a good question.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's really, I think the vaccination wars are unbelievably telling about how fractured this country is. So thanks for the call, Juanita, and keep us in touch with what's going on.
Thanks so much.
All right. Cheers. Have a good night.
Bye.
So if you're wondering what's going on, this is not your typical Narrative Live. This is a Narrative Live where you're getting to fill the content, so I don't have to. Actually, it's just a first open line. We're going to take your calls on a video call tonight, so feel free to call us. There's a link in the call me in the replies below. There's a link that's titled Stage 10. Take that link, plug it into a Google Chrome browser, and hopefully it'll show up in our feed over here. And we'll just take one more call before we go to commercial break, because I am dying to say hello to David Benjamin. I hope this works now. David, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? I feel like I know
great,
you so
man.
well, but I don't think I've ever seen you.
Yeah, right. We've had a few conversations kind of behind the scenes and whatnot. How are you, my friend?
But not on video. So it's nice to finally put a face to a name, even though I've seen your face in the photos.
Yeah,
David. Everyone should know that David's one of the best follows in all of Twitter, because, boy, you have intriguing posts, mostly around the world of the NSO. But tell us a little bit more about what's in your mind tonight. What are you thinking?
Well, when I think about you, I always, of course, because that was kind of like how we came together, was through NSO. It was something you covered, and you've been on this since, like, I don't know, 2017 or 2018.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a long time. So when I saw you first mention it, I'm one of those guys, if you just mention something a little bit, I'll grab a hold of that, and I just disappear for a couple of days and come back and go, hey, did you know this about that? That's just kind of the way I am. But anyways, It's really great to be on with you finally.
Yeah,
I guess what I was thinking about today was definitely what you were thinking about, which was the Republicans staying on that one message and just on their repetibicle, kind of like just accusing Democrats or Merrick Garland of, just that one message. It was all they had.
It was incredible. I was watching, open mouth, because, I mean, who wants to watch a Merrick Garland hearing? It sounds like the most boring thing in the world. And it turned out to be full of fireworks. It was really powerful because, firstly, there's, I'll go through this with people for a little bit here, because I think everyone's going to be really interested in some of this.
It is.
The hearing, firstly, was about whatever they wanted to talk about. It was just normal oversight for the judiciary. But all the Republicans decided to talk about one thing, which is why Merrick Garland sent this memo out. This memo basically is the most benign memo you've ever seen. It basically talks about how there's a upswing in violence involving school teachers and schools and school boards, which is a total fact, and that he's asking AGs in their local areas to please, strategize around what they could do around that, to make sure that they're monitoring what those violent events might be, and that they're responding to any harassment or intimidation. So it's a pretty benign net. It's the kind of thing you just, if you have a functioning Department of Justice, This is what you'd expect your functioning Department of Justice to do, is to send out a memo like this that's perfectly clean, perfectly reasoned, and explains why this whole thing should be monitored, because schools are important, parents are important, and we don't want our teachers or our parents or our students hurt by anything that happens. So this particular memo that he wrote was based on a letter sent by the School Board Association of America, which equated some of the people involved in these attacks on the school board officials and on teachers with being domestic terrorists. Now, you might think that they are domestic terrorists. I happen to think that some of them are sort of acting like domestic terrorists because they're stalking people, they're threatening violence, they're terrifying people, which sounds to me like a definition of terrorism. But Merrick Garland doesn't talk about that in here. All that Merrick Garland talks about in here is that I'm going to go and protect the people of America and the schools of America and the teachers of America. And every single senator, every single GOP senator, Cruz and Hawley and Cotton, just lay into him for this memo, which is perfectly reasonable.
Aren't you gonna stop attacking the people talking to your school boards? Aren't you gonna stop this heinous event that they're doing? It was. Look,
they asked him to resign. 3 of them asked him to resign for sending a letter saying, "Please
my name's
look."
Ted Cruz, and let me cry all day. Sorry.
And so it's insane. It really is
sad
event. And I'm going to play a little bit of Hawley a little later on, but it's, to me, an epitome of what's wrong with the Republican Party right now, and also what's wrong with the Democratic Party, is because the Republican Party are just about violence these days. I mean, clearly now they're asking the Attorney General to not even bother or not to follow the rule of law, not to enforce the rule of law at all. They're like, we'd prefer it if you just let the school boards attack each other and the teachers.
Meanwhile, where's the Democratic messaging? I've got to say, where's Jamie Harrison?
Right.
I mean, the one thing that I love about your show and people like you and Hal Sparks and Richard Ojeda, who I saw with you last night.
Yeah, he's great.
He's gung-ho, man. I love him. We all have these different characters, and if you put them all together, we can create a strong force. But if we don't figure out a way to come together and do this all together and bring up our voice one after another. Like if you look at Pluto TV on your streaming and whatnot, they've got 5, 8 different channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, OAN, America Live, blah, blah, blah. It's one after another and it's stacked. And you're going, well, that's what the morons are watching. So what do you expect?
They've got a machine. They've got a machine. The right wing has a machine that's far bigger, far more organized, far better funded than the left wing. And the rest of us, we have a few people like me sitting around on Twitter hosting shows. But, on the other hand,
this is where it starts, my brother. This is where it starts. And you can't let off of this.
Oh,
when I got COVID like a year and a half ago, when it first started, I didn't even know it was COVID. And I had started a show. And then I kind of came down off of it because I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I got really depressed about the whole thing and I got sick and I didn't even know it was COVID yet. And then you come out of it and you go, okay, look, we got to fix this. We have to fix this. We have to get all together. We got to get Sparks and you and all these different people on this one channel and create a left-wing channel and just start pumping our message 24/7. I don't care if it's on tape or not.
Have you been NSOing my phone? Because that's not dissimilar from what I'm working on. So that's coming. It's coming hopefully soon. I don't know if all those people are going to jump on board.
I want to be there, my friend. I want to be there, man.
Okay, you will.
But I have not been NSOing your phone. I absolutely promise you that. I dislike that stuff.
I know, but I'm sure I assume someone is NSOing my phone half the time because that's just the nature of the beast.
It's getting hot all of a sudden. I wonder why.
David, thanks for your call. We'll have you on again. Nice to see you, man.
My pleasure, my friend.
All right, keep well. Cheers. And so we are going to take more of your video calls. That means you actually have to call in. You have to call in. The down below, you'll see the link. It's called Stage 10. That's the format, the platform we use. Plug that into your Google Chrome browser and give us a shot. I've got DJ Alien Radio waiting on the line, but I'm first going to take a quick commercial break because that is, after all, how I pay the lights in here. and occasionally I remember to pay the bills. So we'll be right back after this break. Thank you for supporting Narrative, and we're welcoming a brand new friend to the Narrative community tonight. Welcome, Mac Weldon. Times have changed. The way we work has changed. And now, thankfully, your wardrobe is catching up with the times. If you, like me, spend too much time staring at the clothes inside your wardrobe thinking, what should I wear? Now you can just embrace the radically efficient Mac Weldon Daily Wear System. The Daily Wear System is a selection of clothes rooted in smart design, made with performance fabrics and built to work together. From breathable t-shirts and polos to stylish button-ups and shorts, underwear and beyond, Mac Weldon makes it easy for you to dress for work, leisure and play, or wherever your work takes you. I love that all these clothes just match. You don't have to think very hard about what goes with what. It just all happens because it's a daily wear system. I'm particularly excited about the Ace sweatshorts. They have modern tailoring and pair perfectly with their ultra soft, ultra upgraded Pima tees. And if you travel on weekends or wherever you might travel, these silver knit polos and radius shorts are the perfect high-tech, highly packable combo. All of these, of course, are available in longer sleeves as well. Buy some time this fall with Mac Weldon Daily Wear System. For 20% off your first order, visit macweldon.com/narrative and enter promo code NARRATIVE. That's NARATIV, the way we spell narrative. That's macweldon.com/narrative, promo code NARRATIVE, spelled NARATIV, for 20% off Mac Weldon radically efficient wardrobing. There you go, our new sponsor. Now, don't forget, you can call us right now on a video call, only video calls tonight, but I'm going to check the chat in a second. You can use the link that's in the replies below. It's called Stage 10. Plug that into your Google Chrome browser, and then you'll be live on the air with me. Now, this is what it says here, DJ Alien Radio.
Alien Radio.
Hello, DJ Alien Radio. How are you? Where are you from?
I'm fine, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, excellent. I just saw a little delay there, and I didn't know if it'd be coming through.
It gets annoying, that delay. Just got to avoid looking at it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any feedback. No, I just wanted to call because I wanted to thank you because I think you've done such a fantastic job with the community that you've assembled. It's been useful for everyone across the world. I had a couple of things.
You're in London, right? Just to point out to everybody that
I am in London, and I also grew up in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, so I grew up in two of the biggest money laundering centers on the planet.
I believe you're right. I believe that's, amongst the two, probably there's a competition for that, but I think you're among the two, yeah.
It's kind of weird how the sort of saga of the past 4 years has intersected with elements of my life in very odd and bizarre ways. That gave me a lot of context going in. I had to, I was one of those people with my hair on fire going, I know what this is. And you guys really need to be very, very, very careful about this. I knew about Steve Bannon working with the Cambridge Analytica lot on Brexit. I mean, I knew about stuff. How did you know about
that? How did you know about that? From personal experience or otherwise?
Well, I knew who Steve Bannon was. For context, I'm one of those people who grew up pre-internet, but was also on the internet very early. I was reading US political blogs in the early 2000s. I learned that Glenn Greenwald was a really unreliable person very early on.
Right.
So I had all that context even prior to the Snowden stuff. And heck, I also dabbled with a little bit of chasing the Church of Scientology. So there were, weirdly enough, there are connections in that to the Brexit story as well. I wish I could remember. I could dig out the name of the guy who.
There is a connection to all of this in Scientology, and I'm yet to figure it out. But I know that it keeps coming up, and I'm not quite sure. It's certain strata of the Scientology church have more impact on this than you'd think. But I'd done a deep dive on Hubbard when I was a teenager. And it sort of, I'm also a software guy. I deal in systems. Grokking systems is my thing. Seeing how little pieces of machinery tie together. It's pattern systems
recognition.
too. I get obsessed with them. That's why I think I am able to get everything that's going on. I just see everything in 3D. So tell me what's the UK's been through a lot too, of course, and we're looking at Brexit being quite has forced Britain into taking quite a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously an intentional sabotage campaign. There was a sustained effort within the Conservative Party to engage foreign intelligence assets to do their dirty work. And that didn't happen in 2014. That stretches back earlier than that, I'm pretty damn sure. The Miliband election, the Scottish referendum. If NSO wasn't involved at some point during the Miliband thing, I would be highly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like this does go back pretty far back, eh?
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if you followed the whole bacon sandwich Ed Miliband thing, because that may have been so inside UK politics baseball. That
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Okay, so Ed Miliband is a Jewish Labour politician. He was the more left-wing of the two Miliband brothers. There was a gigantic to-do in the press when Ed Miliband was pictured and failing to properly eat a bacon sandwich. This is not quite tan suit territory, but...
How are you meant to eat a bacon sandwich? Am I missing something?
Not the way he did it, apparently.
Okay, all right. Okay, good
I
to
mean,
know.
the obvious, like, big deal of that is he is a secular Jew, and it was a particularly targeted attack to alienate Jewish elements of the British voting public from the Labour Party.
Well, it's a good scandal.
Oh, it's a good one.
I'm going to try eat one. Hey, what's going on with the Queen? I'm a little worried about her. She's not well, and I'm not. We don't have a say. Although actually in Canada we should have a say. But it seems to me that that Charles is not the best fit for the King. Is there any way we could just skip past him and get to William? Is there a way to do that? Can you rig that first? Are you allowed to discuss these things?
Definitely not.
No.
I'm kind of the opinion that I can sort of ignore certain intermediate nodes. I kind of know where I suspect things will finally end up.
Yeah.
It was once I started seeing the various threads that were being pulled together in 2016, I thought, holy shit. It's going to absolutely tear everything down because you don't put a money launderer in the presidency.
No, you try not to do that. You try not to. I mean, you certainly. On the other hand, they seem to be everywhere. If you're rich, you seem to have money laundered sometime in your life. So, so you didn't answer. You dodged the question on the Queen. How she's going to be okay for a bit, right?
I mean, yeah, the females of that line, they live a while.
Right. Well, that's good, right? Her mom did live a long time. She's probably going to wait to see who she can make go next. DJ Alien Radio, whatever your real name is, thank you very much for joining us from London. It's great to have you here. Did you cover everything you wanted to talk about? Because you got more time.
I think so, actually. I mean, that was pretty much. Oh, the only other thing was obviously I have a great deal of knowledge of Nigel Farage, and I'm just waiting on the Julian Assange extradition hearing because that's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. I wonder if it's actually going to happen, but it seems like it will. All right, my friend, DJ Alien Radio. What a great name. I want that name.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Well, it's midnight there. Good morning. Bye-bye. Isn't that nice? You see, we're fully international here on the Narrative TV. It is really cool, by the way, to get all these calls from everywhere. There's nothing on deck right now, so if you guys want to get in your 2 cents, this is how you do it. You call in right now. The lines are open. You can do it by clicking on the link below. This is called Stage 10, plugging that into Google Chrome, and we'll keep talking. I've got lots to talk about, so I can just keep yakking because I do want to get back to this ridiculousness, this absolute insanity with Hawley and Cruz today. Basically, this is the problem with the way the American news works. Is the headline everywhere today was Garland defends memo on violent threats to school board. Which in fact is true. I mean, he did defend the memo to violent threats to school board, but that isn't really the story. The story should have been something more like this. Hawley tells the Attorney General, rescind school protections. We don't want you to protect schools anymore. We want you instead to not protect them and let there be violence and aggression and intimidation in school. And this is the ridiculous exchange that we witnessed between this man who, by the way, tellingly here, is busy with his fist up in the air, telling the insurrectionists, sending them a message of some sort saying, you go guys, here's an armed fist, give them hell when you attack the Capitol. And now Mr. Mr. Violence is now telling the AG to step down from his efforts in stopping the violence, which is beyond understandable for me. I just don't understand how the GOP gets off on this, in as much as I don't understand how the Democratic Party are not seizing on these opportunities. I mean, clearly, this is a terrible day for the GOP, but it's turning out to be a bad day for Garland, and it shouldn't be. So here's a little bit. I'm not sure how long I can take of this, but here's Garland talking to Hawley at the Senate Oversight Committee today.
Memo is dated October 4th with your signature on it.
This
Did you
is
sign
Cotton.
it on October
Let's watch
4th?
Cotton
I did.
instead.
So 4 intervening days, 2 of which were weekend days.
Yes.
I'd say that sets a land speed record for the federal government.
When we
Judge Grassley pointed out that you have not responded to letters of his that have been outstanding for months. How is it the Department of Justice was able to move so rapidly on a single letter from a special interest group that has now repudiated?
Okay, I don't know what that is. So I obviously pressed the wrong buttons there. So let's listen to Cruz. Shall we listen to Cruz? Let's see how this sounds.
Did you seek an ethics opinion?
this memorandum has
Did you seek an ethics opinion?
this memorandum has nothing to do with.
General, are you refusing to answer if you sought an ethics
I'm
opinion?
telling you that there's no possible.
So you're saying no, just answer it directly. You know how to answer a question directly. Did you seek an ethics opinion?
I'm telling you that if I thought there was any reason to believe there was a conflict of interest, I would do that. But I cannot.
Why do you refuse to answer the question? Why won't you just say no?
I'm sorry.
You're not going to answer the question?
I'm sorry. Ask the question again.
Did you seek an ethics opinion?
I'm saying again, I would seek an ethics opinion in.
So no is the answer, correct?
There was a.
Senator, your time is up.
Let the record reflect the Attorney General refuses to answer whether he sought an ethics opinion, and apparently ethics are not a terribly high priority in the Biden Justice Department.
I don't think that's a fair reflection of what I said.
Then answer the question.
Senator, you've gone way beyond any other senator's time.
Cringeworthy stuff, really cringeworthy stuff today. I mean, I cannot believe that Ted Cruz has the audacity to talk to Merrick Garland about ethics at all. I mean, he's got no room to stand on. And there he is, badgering the Attorney General, who's doing a great job trying to be a balanced Attorney General. And really, I was kind of impressed, Upstate Farmer. I don't know what your real name is. Hi. Welcome to the show. It's nice to see you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm really good. Where are you?
I'm upstate New York.
That makes you're around the corner.
It's a big place.
It is a big place. You've got a nice map behind you. It looks very nice.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool.
That's a
looking.
geological map of the Grand Canyon.
Oh, really? I love the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I just want to, we bust into Ted Cruz over there. I mean, were you watching today? Did you watch any of that hearing?
No, I just saw the clip you played. That is disgraceful.
It is disgraceful. It's disgraceful that Democrats are letting them get away with it, is what I'm actually a bit mad about. Because I think it's clearly ridiculous that the party of law and order, the GOP, which is supposed to be all about security, are busy there telling the Attorney General not to defend parents at schools and not to defend school board officials at schools. It's beyond. It doesn't make any sense that they're asking him to resign for doing the thing that you'd expect them to do. And it just makes me think like this whole party has descended into a violent, criminal gang. There really is nothing. There's nothing about them that doesn't remind you of that every day. You look at Charlottesville, you look at Kyle Rittenhoff, you look at the insurrection. Obviously, it's just endless amounts of just violence by the political party itself. It just drives you nuts. Anyhow, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that we live in a sort of purple county up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like half Democrat, half. And we do see some of these unmask our children signs, and I find them quite disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just give you some news from the front.
Yeah, thank you for that. There is actually a lot going on in that regard. There's, these school boards are becoming incredibly disrupted. There was a really interesting thing that happened out of Portland yesterday, and I wish I had it here. I'm going to try find it. Basically what happened, there was a normal school board meeting where everyone was masked up, and in came the unmasked protesters, some of which were funded by some right-wing, wealthy person, and they refused to put their masks on. So the masked officials of the school board in Portland decided, well, they'll take the meeting into a virtual space and have the meeting online, because they couldn't be in the room where they'd get exposed. So what's left is the there's an altercation, not violent, but certainly, loud. And the unmasked landed up staying in the boardroom and having their own meeting, talking about all the, how you can die from vaccinations and you can die from this, and that they're killing the school kids. And there's another meeting that took place in virtually. But this scene is happening everywhere. We're seeing every school district is now turning into a front line for politics. And this is not what schools are about. And I don't know how the GOP feels like this is going to work for them. No parent wants to send their kids into a front line of, a war zone every day at school. They want to make sure their kids are safe. They don't want to be walking into a political fight every day. So I hope this backfires in the way it should against the GOP next year. But I don't know what it's like. You live in a purple area. Things might be different over there.
Well, it's, half and half. But the people in our county that have an education generally tend to be Democrats. Mm-hmm. So this means that the people that can read and write and operate a spreadsheet,
and who might be on school boards, that's the thing. Is the Democrats might be on school boards, and the Republicans might not be. So you might be seeing a takeover in that regard, and it's real intimidation. It really is.
I'd like to try to make that stay, continue with.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are in a moment in history, right? We are in a moment where we've seen other countries do this exact same thing and fall into either, totalitarianism or into communism in a way that, we can't afford to have in the United States. So, as much as it must be painful for all those people on those school boards, they've really got to stay on them, and they've really got to stick, they need as much support as they can from the communities and from the Attorney General and whomever else wants to help them, because we can't afford for this to happen. We can't afford for us to lose the control over these local boards that are so important to our kids.
Yeah, and then there's also the, being an election day volunteer, to make sure to, because they tend to be pretty well staffed, but I wouldn't want it to be tilt one way or the other, because they can have. One of my first experiences with an election place, and with a polling place, was during the McGovern campaign.
Oh yeah,
we didn't look that old, but we went to a handout. Myself and a few other people were at a place across the street from the polling place, at a place called the People's Town Hall in Huntington.
Right.
And it was, hippies, hippies. We had one of the first food banks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the guy that ran it is now working with Carrison with housing issues for immigrants. So I'm a proud donor to that every month.
Oh, cool.
Employee.
When was McGovern? Remind me again. This is 67 or?
No, that was 72.
72. Okay. Right.
Yeah,
right.
I can always remember that because we had this saying, "Don't switch dicks in the middle of the screw."
Oh, that's a good one.
So yeah, we were naughty little girls, and yeah, we were just there across the street, and the Republic, handing out, McGovern things. And the Republican guy, there were two people. They have, they usually have a balance, or they try to have a balance at the polling place, the poll watchers. And this guy came running out and measured the distance with a tape measure for the width of the road to make sure that we were the exact amount away. We had to actually move our little booth back.
Oh, really?
But he just wanted to harass us and try to provoke us.
It sounds like things haven't changed that much then.
I think things haven't changed that much, but I'd rather be one of those, reasonable ladies at the polling place, telling everyone to calm down, than to, because I remember there also was a little old lady with a, with a cardigan sweater.
Oh yeah.
Telling them to calm
Thank God for
down.
the old ladies with the cardigan sweaters. It's how we stay alive here. People are asking online who this is, and we should say that you're Upstate Farmer. That's what people are asking. So this is Upstate Farmer. Yeah. Hey, thanks very much for calling in. I really appreciate you being here tonight. So good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, thanks. Have a great night. Boy, this is exciting. I've never done something as exciting as this, because I thought I couldn't do this because I'd need people to screen calls and everything, but I don't. As it turns out, you're all here and amazing. So now there's a bunch of things being said here in the chat rooms. I'm going to try to read some of them if you bear with me. I don't know how far back I can go here. Cruise gives me anxiety. Gives me anxiety too. Now you fix the sound. Okay. Haha, ditto. I would next time he does it again. What? Let me find. Then people want to know who that last caller was, and we just told them. Thank you, Paige CM. And Carolyn Garman is being asked by Kinky Streets. They have a webpage for him. Okay. Then Good as Gold says, we keep thinking that rethugs are actually interested in being politicians. They are not. We need to change our expectations, and it all makes sense. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, Good as Gold. We need to understand that this party is not interested in the old America in any sense. And their intentions are to take over in as violent a way as they can. It seems to me like they're not shying away from confrontation. They're not shying away from physical altercation. They're not shying away from asking the Attorney General to not protect parents in their schools. I mean, that to me is the ultimate. When a sitting representative party is out there advocating that the Attorney General should be pulling back protection for school boards and parents when they're being attacked like this on a regular basis is beyond belief. The same thing goes for these election officials. The same thing goes for the judiciary officials. I mean, we've just in a position now where we have to accept that this party is not playing by any of the rules that we would expect. And we need to adjust accordingly, or we're going to, be in for a nasty surprise. Let me see also this. It escapes me who, but someone publicly corrected that Garland is not a Federalist. Is that right? I didn't know that he's not a Federalist. I'm surprised he's not a Federalist. I thought everyone was a Federalist in that world. So I think he might be a Federalist. I don't think that necessarily, I don't know the answer to that. So someone else better correct me if they are able to see it on their chat. The school board meeting that they go to, someone sends them with pre-written talking points. They send them to the ones that want to go. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, these are the people interrupting the school board. I think they get talking points. They do get talking points. They get funded. They get people busing them in. It's all pretty organized. Good as Gold says, when you hold signs for a candidate outside a polling place, there are laws about how close you can stand out. That's correct. That's correct. Federalist Society has 70,000 members, says someone here on the chats. Wow, you guys are so good. It's so quick. I got to say, by the way, the reason I love Narrative so much is because you are all so good at fact checking. You're so good at providing sourcing. You're so good at just providing me with information that I actually have often said that this is the best crowdsourcing or the biggest crowdsourcing experiment ever, because all of you were able to crack Trump Russia. I mean, the reason why we know so much about Trump Russia is that there are so many people who were just tirelessly working away. I call them, it's called the soccer mom revolution, where most of those soccer moms staying at home late at night, researching down different avenues, and then collaborating with each other to really figure out the story. And I think that is the most remarkable thing, because the reason citizens bother to save a system is because it's worth saving. So for all of you who stayed up late at night, early mornings, whatever, all night long, sometimes researching different aspects of Trump Russia and putting it together so we would all know the truth. You are owed a debt of gratitude, because there's no ways we would have gotten to where we are today without all that hard work that happened along the way. Oh my gosh, look who's here. I'm so excited to meet. Hello. How are you, Chopin's Heart?
Oh, I know. Yes, I go by, I have an old Periscope name,
Yeah.
Bodhichari, which I really should not be using, but I can't get rid of it now. So
Oh, it's okay. How are you? It's nice to finally meet you.
I'm just delighted. I'm so supportive of your show, and
You are.
so
Thank you.
grateful. I'm so grateful. I would defend you to the end of time. I just think it's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I was born in New York City and ended up in Oklahoma for 30 years.
Mhm.
So I'm very familiar with being in a red state, and now I'm in Arizona. And
I
this
love Arizona. Oh, it's so
narrative
nice.
has been really the major communication that I've had with like-minded people. So it's
Oh, really?
incredibly important. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
great.
It's so vital because I'm old enough to remember the days when you could open up the New York Times and it was a full 2-page spread analyzing the news. You could get points of view, or else you had TV shows with all these very old looking people, talking about ideas
Yeah.
and so this was it. This was amazing. And I noticed the other day Heidi mentioned something about journalism. She doesn't have a television.
She doesn't. I was always blown away by this. I was like, Heidi, are you watching MSNBC? She's like, I don't have a TV. But yet
And
she's more informed than the rest of us. So,
well, and that
there's,
was my question. I was hoping that eventually you and LB and Greg and Heidi could share, how you get your news and where do you go for things, because I would love to find, for example, an English newspaper that gives me the Ukrainian news.
Mhm.
And I don't want to get into internet trouble. I don't want to have someone, spying on me. I mean, I'm a little
Yes.
paranoid. I'm a
Well,
New
we all are a
Yorker
little
at heart,
paranoid. It's interesting. I mean, I get my news from everywhere. I feel like I'm just so constantly sucking in information, but I get a lot of it on Twitter. Obviously, I have one of those minds that connects dots. I mean, that's just sort of what I do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the only good thing
Yeah.
I'm good for. And so I just retain a lot of these little bits of information, and then sometimes I just notice that they're connected somehow, and I verify that connection, and that's how, at least a lot of the time, that's when we're breaking news. A lot of the time is when we've been able to see those connections and verify them. Obviously, we have to verify them very carefully. But sometimes it's as simple as that, and sometimes the news is right in front of our eyes. It's so shocking sometimes that people forget to see it. Even
Yes.
today, I was just talking about this Mary Garland thing. I mean, it's kind of shocking that many GOP senators will be asking the Attorney General not to protect schools and school boards. I mean, it's it's kind of, that is news, obviously, but we're so used to being shocked by the ridiculous positions of the GOP that we just sort of get numbed to the fact that it's happening over and over and over again. It's like post-traumatic stress disorder almost.
The other thing I find very disturbing, and I hate to, well, it's just disturbing everywhere, is the amount of ignorance by the people that are running for office of what's going on internationally, what's going on with climate change. They're not connecting the dots between their responsibilities in public office and the larger picture, because we're in trouble. And we need the appropriate actions. Everyone wants to act, but what is the linchpin that's going to turn things?
Well, it's really, we're in a difficult situation. And America in particular is in a difficult situation. I think that it's, we think that climate change is going to affect all the world equally, but I'm not so sure that that's the case. And I'm also not so sure that people realize how much of a target America is for so much of the world. It's not, these things don't happen by accident. You don't get Trump, Russia, and then coronavirus, and then climate change.
Did you?
Coincidentally, these things happen because they're a progression, and they're designed to always effectively, weaken America to the point of either complete collapse or at least very close to collapse. And when you think about the effects of climate change and why Russia might be accelerating climate change and why China might be accelerating climate change, that you begin to see that all of this stuff is not just so coincidental. It's potentially timed and to hit certain marks and to have certain events happen at certain times. So our country is weakened and weakened over time. Right now, our good friend Dave Troy is talking about this attempt to weaken the American dollar by introducing the cryptocurrency and increasing the value of cryptocurrency. And that's all designed to hurt the American dollar. These are all, if this was an old school war, these would be missiles and planes above us and tanks rolling into cities. That's the equivalent of the effect that these kinds of attacks have on us. But because we can't really see it and we can't really, it's not really evident to us. We know something's happening, but we can't really see the carnage and we can't see the collapsed buildings, that we don't really know how bad it is. But it's pretty bad, I would say.
Well, and that's what's so good about your show, is that for example, back in the 80s, I think I was reading Foreign Policy magazine, and they predicted mass migration and corruption, right?
Yeah.
So where are we getting these forward-thinking predictions? It's from your show. Your show really needs to be a nightly wrap up.
Oh, thank you.
It's just extraordinary. It's
Well, we're
one of
trying to
the
ramp it up, and we are trying to get more of us to do more shows, and we are trying to do a big station. So we'll, because it is there are so many great voices, I must say, that I've found on the show. I'm so blown away by so many great people that come on and are so invested, and on Twitter in general, there are so many powerful, smart people who are investing their time, collaborating with each other to explain what's going on. That, to me, I think that's where the solution is going to come. You can look to the leaders, but they're stuck in a lot of ways. I think the solutions are going to come from the people. And the only way we know how to connect with other people is through social media and through the crowd. So the more, people stay engaged on Twitter. I know it's tiring. I'm so exhausted by this whole story. It's absolutely exhausting. But we have to stay in this fight. And by in this fight means we have to keep researching it. We have to keep understanding it. And we have to think about what's the way out. I mean, there is a solution out there. There always is something. And the more we work together and the more people that work together, the more we're going to figure it out. And, ultimately not succumb to this, because it would be a great pity if this experiment ended right now under these circumstances, for these reasons. It just doesn't make any good sense, and it's certainly no good for the world. Maybe good for some rich people, but that's about it.
Right.
That's what it feels like. It's so nice to meet you. You're so lucky you're in Arizona. I do love Arizona, by the way. It's so beautiful over there.
We're trying to keep it. We've got cinema and drought.
Right. That's the climate change piece that's starting to affect the Southwest, right? That's going to be a real challenge. You see it all the way through California, the fires, and then all the drought. It's really, really complicated. Maybe you can leave cinema down there, and then, sorry, I was just saying you could move, but it's better down there. We can move there. You can send cinema up here. She's something else. What do you think of her?
Am I allowed to say I think she has psychological issues?
She could possibly. Yeah.
I think she looks like someone who's suffering a lot, but I'm suffering more from her. So I'd like to see her gone.
Yeah.
I think she's being courted. Her picture was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. I think she's being courted by the Republicans. I think she's psychologically vulnerable. I don't trust her, and I think we're going to try to get rid of her. But I think
there's
the
history
damage
there,
has been done.
There's history that I've been tipped off to some history of her, which I can't talk about, but I'm still trying to verify. But there is history,
Her
yeah,
personal history is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's a lot of poverty and a lot of suffering there, and I feel for her, but there's too much at stake,
Well, I mean, these two, Manchin and Sinema, are just the most annoying. It's fine if you're gonna, be a Republican, but if you're gonna just hide as a Democrat, and then when America really needs this very, very valuable relief that Biden has in these two bills, to then really crash it and interfere in the way they have, it's just sad. I mean, how can you take food away from kids? How can you take? It's just I don't understand that.
When you drive through, if you've ever driven through West Virginia or through the hinterlands of Oklahoma, once you get out of the big city, it's appalling. These are people who hunt for meat, for protein. Okay? These are people who need to hunt for food. So
Richard Ojeda is from West Virginia. He was on last night, and he says people are poor here. People are poor. The $340 checks that they get from right now for the child credits are really helping lift kids out of poverty. It's $340 a month per kid. It's like nothing, and yet Manchin and Sinema are busy taking that away from kids. I don't understand how you go to sleep at night knowing that you are forcing kids to be hungry.
You can't. And in Oklahoma, the last I heard, the textbooks in the public schools were literally so old they were falling apart. How can children learn when they're hungry and they don't have materials?
And they're still in dial-up. The guy said to me that Richard was saying that they go up to the McDonald's to get the Wi-Fi, because they can't get Wi-Fi. It's not okay. This is not how you build a strong generation to take on the rest of the world. This is not, we're not doing the right things by our kids, and we're not doing the right things by our families. And it's not a lot of money. We actually have the money to pay for this. We'd rather give it to billionaires and give them to give them tax cuts to the wealthy than feed children. And any country that's happening is just
1 out of 5 families today supposedly has emptied their savings account, and yet we have now trillionaires.
Right.
So it's unbalanced.
It's kind of amazing that the 700 billionaires they were going to tax with a billionaire tax, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's only 700 of them that they could tax, and they'd be able to pay for a whole bunch of this stuff. I couldn't believe how much money they must have in order, if it's only 700 of them could pay for so much. But I guess that's the reality.
They could buy some Moink.
Yeah. Moink's the best. You know what? That's a good segue, because you know what? It's time for me to take my little Moink break.
Okay.
And Chopin's Heart. I'm not going to say this other one. Bodichara? I can't say it. Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate you being here. It's great to meet you finally. It's so nice to meet everybody.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll do this again, and we'll get to chat again in the future.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. We probably have time for one more call if you guys want to throw in your last 2 cents. The link is below this in the replies, the stage 10 link. Just click on it or put it into the Chrome browser, and then you can give us a call and give us your thoughts about what's happening in the world, or any other questions you may have to me, or any other comments you may have. You name it. I'll be happy to answer it. In the meantime, it's time to Moink. Hi, folks. It's Zev. Thanks for supporting Narrative. And here's a question for you. Why are 97% of chicken served in the United States dipped in chlorine? Yes, chlorine, believe it or not. The answer is simple. It's because Big Food doesn't have the same quality standards as the family farm. That's why you need moinkbox.com. With Moink, you get the highest quality meat you've ever tasted while supporting real family farms. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and wild-caught Alaskan salmon directly to your door, helping family farms become financially independent outside of big agriculture. Their animals are raised outdoors, their fish swim wild in the ocean, and Moink meat is free of antibiotics, hormones, sugar, and all the other junk you find prepackaged in the meat aisle. I love Moink, and I know you will too. Moink meat is so delicious. If you want to get the absolute best quality while supporting the little guy, I recommend you get to Moink right now. Join the Moink movement today. Go to moinkbox.com/narrative right now, and listeners to this show get free bacon for a year. Free bacon for a year. Get that. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste, but for a limited time. Spelled Moink, MOINK, box.com/narrative. That's NARATIV, the way we spell narrative. That's moinkbox.com/narrative. I am so excited about Moink. I swear they're one of the nicest brands. I'm actually going to bring the farmer who is the owner of Moink on the show, because she's fantastic. You guys are going to love her. Because she just makes me laugh. So this is it, I guess. This is the end of the show. Thanks for being part of Narrative's first ever live video call-in. I actually don't know if anyone else does live video call-ins. I actually haven't seen them. Maybe I'm sure there are people out there doing them, but it's a first for us, and I'm glad it worked out. Thank you everyone who called in. I really appreciate it. I would have been really lonely just talking to myself here for a full hour, but thankfully you were there, and it's so nice to meet everybody. This week, Friday, the after show has its now annual Halloween show. I'm not sure what I'm going to wear. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I know LB's already got her costume ready, so, as she should. She needs, she's a star. She's the star. What can I do? She's the star. We love her. We love you. And Greg's probably, got his dirty wife beater ready to go for a second time. I better think of something original, because I can't do Batman again. But we'll see you on Friday when the after show is here. As always, you can support Narrative at patreon.com/narrative. The after show will be Friday, and then next Tuesday, a brand new investigation. We're going to get into the January 6th investigation again and connect all the dots to Russia, because we haven't forgotten. I haven't stopped investigating it, and there's a lot to report. That's next Tuesday on Narrative. Thanks again for joining us tonight. I really appreciate all your support and being here tonight, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good night. Narrative is made possible by viewers like you. Join today and support truly independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. That's patreon.com/narrative.